What are the differences between process full and process update of a dimension? A very important interview question. Let's see where this particular option will be available at first, and then we can discuss about the differences between process full and process update in SSAS dimensions. So when you take it any dimension, for your information, I cleared this. I cleared the whole SSAS project. That means there is nothing, no data read. This is just like a newly created project. Okay. When you create a project for the first time, and if you go to the dimension, when you click on or right click on it and click on process, here you will find the different processing options. The first difference between process update and process full is process update will be available only when the dimension is processed. Now the dimension is not processed. You can see that if I go to the dimension by double clicking here, it's not a major difference, but a difference that needs to be remembered. So if you go to the browser, it won't give you any data because it is not yet processed. So when the dimension is not in processed state, and if you click on process, you can see only process full option at first because there is nothing to process update. That's why process update will not be visible or available. So now when the process update will come into picture, when you process the dimension for the first time. For example, if I processed it with process full option and it is successful, now when I right click on the same product which is processed, and you can see the option process update now and a couple of other options too. So the first difference, process full is available when the dimension is initially first time created or when the dimension is not in process state, and process update is available only when the dimension is processed at least once. The second difference between process update and process full is when you go for a process full of a dimension, what it will do is it will clear all the data that has been created, that has been read from your analysis, from your underlying relational database, and then it starts creating or reading the data from scratch. So that means, as you all know, the processing means reading the data from a relational database and storing it into your analysis. Let's say this is your relational database AdventureWorks TW, and this is your dimension DIM product, and you have data in it. Okay, you read it, you processed it yesterday, and today you are trying to process full again on the DIM product dimension. So what it will do is it will clear all the data. It won't keep any records. It will just clear all the data and it will start reading from here, from scratch. So it means it clears everything and it starts from scratch. It's like processing from processing first time, kind of. So this is what process full will do. If you go to the process update, let's say this is your DIM product dimension and you have a data in it. Okay. And when you apply process update on the dimension, it will go and get all the changes that has been happened, or it will go and get all the data. Okay, let's say it will store it here and it will compare each and every record with this, with the available data. If there is any record without any changes, then it won't do anything for that. If there is any record for which some changes has been happened, then it will update the record. If there is any record that is deleted in your data source, that means here, then it will delete it here. And if there is any record that is newly added here, which is not available in your dimension, then it will add to the dimension. So in short, what it will do is it's kind of merge statement in SQL Server. Using merge, you can insert missing records, delete the extra records, and update the changed records, or modify records, and yeah, those three stuff, right? So you can do the same. This process update will do the same. So that is why people prefer process update when there are minimum change, when there are changes happen to your dimension table, and if your dimension records which are already pulled into your dimension are not constant or continuously changing, then people prefer to go with process update. And this is the second difference. And the third difference is process full. If you apply process full, then all the objects that are dependent on this will be cleared. That means, let's say you created a cube with this one. Okay, you added this particular dimension to one of the cube. Then if you process full this dimension, then that cube will be cleared. there will be nothing to browse. Then you have to process the whole cube again. That is the biggest disadvantage of ProcessFull. So the big, if you process full the dimension, it clears, it apply process clear on all the dependent objects. But process update is not like that. It will keep the cube data or partition data as is. It won't clear the partition data. But what it will do is it will build the indexes and aggregations, bitmap indexes and aggregations. So that is the major difference between ProcessFull and process update. And the fourth difference is ProcessFull is always faster than process update. Not always, 99% faster than process update, because it has to compare, it has to read all the data, and it has to compare and do the modifications like a merge statement. Whereas ProcessFull, it clears everything and it will read the data and it will place the data over there. And the fifth, fifth difference is when you use it. For example, during development, people do ProcessFull, or when there is a metadata changes, then the server will force you to do ProcessFull. But whereas process update, when you move your cube to production and if there is no metadata changes to your dimension, then people prefer to go with process update, because ProcessFull will clear all the dimension, sorry, all the dependent objects, and you have to process all the dependent objects again. It is a time-taking task compared to ProcessFull. So these are the four differences between process update and ProcessFull. Now let me show you one of the difference here. I'm doing ProcessFull on the product dimension. Okay, this is done. Before showing the scenario here, let me process the whole cube first. Now the cube on the database is up and available, and it is in browsable condition. If you want, I can show you that quickly by connecting to the cube. This is the dimension which is in browsable condition, good, and this is the cube. Now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna execute ProcessFull on this. So if I do ProcessFull on the dimension, then as I did process update, no problem. When I do process update, as I said, the partition data and all the dependent objects will not be cleared. It only recreates the aggregations, that too if required, if there is any changes that needs to redesign the aggregations. And if I try to reconnect after process update of a dimension, the cube is still alive and up. You can be able to browse it. Now let me do a ProcessFull on the same dimension instead of process update. Okay, so what it will do is it will delete all the data, it will read the fresh data, and also it clears all the dependent objects. The dependent objects in this case are the partitions of AdventureWorks DW cube. And if I try to reconnect it, it will say the cube cannot be browsed, verify that the cube has been deployed and processed. Means it cleared all the dependent data. So that is the major drawback of using ProcessFull. That is why when the cube is moved to the production, people don't use ProcessFull very frequently, unless there is a full release planned, which happens normally once in three months or so. So this is about ProcessFull and process update differences. Let me quickly go through the four differences. The first one is ProcessFull is available when the cube dimension is created, and it's always available, whereas process update will be shown and it will be available only when the dimension is in process state. And the second difference is ProcessFull will take less time compared to process update. And the third difference is ProcessFull clears the data in the dimension and it will read the complete data from the relational database, whereas process update reads the data, compares, and make the changes to the existing data. And the fourth difference is ProcessFull will clear all the dependent objects, whereas process update will not clear all the dependent objects. Instead, it redesigns the bitmap indexes and aggregations that are designed on the cube. And the fifth difference is ProcessFull, when we use it, whenever there is a metadata change, we have to go for ProcessFull. And process update, whenever you want to retain, whenever you want to keep the data of the dependent objects, I mean to say, if you don't want to flush out the dependent objects data, then you go for process update. Else you will go for ProcessFull if you want to go for a full release of the project. So these are the major differences between ProcessUpdate and ProcessFull. Hope you understood the concept. Stay tuned for more videos on SSIS, SSAS and SSRS interview questions. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.